Hello everyone and welcome to a very special episode of the Rangers Years. This is episode 7 when we have talked to various ex-Rangers players about their careers at Ibrox, and today is, in my opinion, the most special episode we've done so far, because who we've got with us today is a man who played for Rangers for well over a decade, who made 274 appearances, who's a member of the Hall of Fame, and who wore the number 3 jersey in the greatest night in Rangers history. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome Mr. Willie Mathieson. Billy, welcome.
Thank you very much, David. It's great to be here.
And by the way, you were telling us before we recorded this, you had a little health scare, and it's great to see you looking so healthy. It's marvellous.
I still have some effects from it, and especially my speech, and I just hope the speech comes through all right.
Oh, it's absolutely perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So, over the next, 40 minutes or so, Billy, I just want to get your memories of your Rangers career and what a career it was. And I'll start, everyone remembers 1972, but you'd been at Rangers for about a decade before that Cup Winners' Cup final. So you signed for Rangers when Scott Simon was the manager back in the early 60s. You played under Scott Simon, you played under Davy White, you played under Willie Waddle, you played under Jock Wallace. Could you just tell us a little bit about each of those different managers, and maybe a little bit unfair, but who did you like playing for more than any of the rest of them?
It was, as you just say, it was early days in the 60s. I signed. I was 16 and a half, working down the mines and playing with St Andrews United when Rangers approached me. And my father wouldn't let me sign full time until I finished my time.
Right.
It was about 2.5 years still to do. So I was part-time for 2.5 years. Right. Trained one night a week at Ibrox. And come 1962, I finished on the Friday. And on the Monday, I started full-time. Scott Simon was the manager at that point.
Yeah.
Scott was... He was a great lad. I loved Scott Simon. And I think in the end, he was unfairly dismissed. After it was sad, and my first day at training, they played the incomers against the first team, second team select.
Right.
And the incomers, myself and Colin Jackson and 5 Scottish schoolboys.
Right.
And we played this game, and the game was going on, and I was playing against Craigie Watson. Who was deputising for Wee Willie at the time. It was a mixture of first team, second team against the incomers. And Craig come flying down the wing. He was a flyer, and he flew by me. And this old guy was standing at the side of the pitch.
Yep.
He says to me, "What's your name, son?" I says, "Willie Mathieson." "You left back?" "Yeah, I'm left back." "Right. See, the next time he comes down there, just hit him across the knees. Don't bother about the ball. Just hit him across the knees." So I said, "Well, just do as I tell you, hit him across the knees." So I came down and I walloped him. And Simon was screaming at me, like, And I turned around and this old guy's laughing his head off, like, And it turned out it was Jock Shaw.
Oh, Tiger. Yeah.
Tiger. And from that day on, Tiger mentored me. He looked after me the whole of my career at Ibrox. And if there's any man that I owe to, it's Jock Shaw.
Fantastic.
It was fantastic. But Simon was we never had any really team talks. The team that played that time, Richie Shearer, Caldo, Greg McKinnon, they ran the team, And it was fantastic times. And you trained every day with these guys. I was running around the track with these lads. I don't think you get that nowadays.
No.
You got schools, and we're learning all the time. And travelling from Fife, I travel through. There's me and Willie Johnson. We both stayed in the same village, and Jim Baxter. We used to have to train every morning.
Right.
And when they closed the Fife Glasgow line, which went to switch to Edinburgh, where we met up with Jimmy Miller, Ralphie Brand. There was every 10, 12 players playing with us, like they travelling with us, speaking all the time, football, so it was a good time. I made my debut against Hamilton Accies.
Yeah, Scottish Cup. Yeah.
And I come back for the training on the Friday, and wee Bobby Muff at the doorman says, "Yeah, the boss wants to see you upstairs." And I thought, what the hell have I done now, So he goes up and he says, "You're playing tomorrow." He says, "Go down and tell Jim Miller and tell Jim Baxter you're playing. They'll tell you what they want you to do, So off I went down there, told them. Baxter says, "Right, just you win the ball, give it to me. Win the ball, give it to me. No matter if we're in our own box, give me the ball." And that's all I did that day, and it was absolutely
What a team! What a team to play in to start your career.
It was super. The information that was coming back for these players, especially Jimmy Miller. I mean, he would talk you through the game after the game. Great source of information. Jimmy was like, and I was sad when Simon got the sack. I think we were at the top of the league at the time.
We were.
Yeah, and Simon got, and they brought in Davy White. Well, Davy, we were playing against Davy. He was just one of the boys, And I think his biggest problem was he wasn't getting the respect really that he should have been getting as a manager of Rangers. Davy just wanted to be one of the boys,
Mm-hmm.
And he threw me out of the team and brought in Brian Hearn. Brian was an outside left.
Yeah.
And that was David's downfall. The Gornock game.
Yeah.
But David was a good tactician. Good, talked good football. But just one of the boys, and that was his downfall. Not really.
Didn't win anything, unfortunately.
He didn't win anything, but when you look back on from 72 to 67, when David was the manager there as well, we went to 2 European finals.
Yeah.
We went to a European semi-final, European quarter-final, and a Super Cup final.
That's right.
In Europe, we were holding our own.
Yeah.
Domestically, we were absolutely garbage. We just couldn't get there. We were getting close. I think the season that David got the sack, we went unbeaten. I think. Well, we got beaten the last game. I think Aberdeen game or something.
Yeah.
So domestically rubbish. European wise, we seemed to do all right,
Yeah. Then Mr. Waddle came in after that.
Then Dido come in, and I was out of the team at that time when Dido come in. And his first game back, he put me back into the team, and I stayed there until I left.
Right.
Dido was, and he brought tradition back to the club. He brought respect back to the club, and that's what we'd been missing. We are the Rangers, and we'd lost that.
It's funny. One of my earliest memories was Willie Henderson's moustache. I remember my dad talking about Willie Henderson growing up, and he hated it. He absolutely hated the fact that a Rangers player had a moustache.
Oh yeah. I mean, long hair. Well, we had long hair at that point. It was coming in at that point, so that was allowed. But facial hair, no way. You weren't allowed it.
Those are the days.
It was strict, but he was a great tactician, Willie. And David White made 2 good signings before he left. He signed Alec McDonald and Colin Steele, and they were 2 great signings. Dido come in and he makes another 2 good signings. Tommy McLean, be my boy, and from then on, we seem to do quite well. I always remember we played Dundalk when David White was the manager. We played Dundalk across in Ireland in a cup final, in a cup tie.
Yeah, European game,
Aye, and after the game, we were back at the hotel, and we were sitting in the bar, drinking Coke probably. But there was a group of table, journalists, about 5 or 6 of them, and one of them was Willie Waddle. and he come across, he shouted at me, he says, Willie, come here. I said, what is it? He says, who's the best right winger you've ever come across, you know? So in these days, Stirling was full of good right wingers. There was Wally Henderson, Jimmy Johnson, Dunfermline, what's his name? Dunfermline. Anyway, there was Andy Penman, Dundee, you know, there was a lot of them. And I says, it's Tommy McLean. And Dino says, I told you that, boys, Tommy McLean. And who was the first signing they made when he come to the round?
Yeah.
Tommy McLean. Like, and Tommy was a fabulous wee player. But I could never I hated playing against him. I could never tackle him. And I always liked to get the boot in first, like, you know. But we Tommy, I couldn't get near Tommy. He was brilliant, like, you know.
Yeah.
Great wee player.
Funny enough, Alec McDonald was kind enough to write the foreword for one of my books, and I asked him who the best player, who he liked playing with the most at Ibrox. I was expecting him to say David Cooper, and straight away he said, "Oh, Tom McLean." Tom McLean was in the perfect wavelength for me. He just saw my runs all the time. He could read the game so well. Perfect passer of the ball.
Yeah, you could never tackle Tommy. You know, he just seemed to float by you. You know, and you can never get a tackle. And it annoyed me that, you know.
And then, of course, after Barcelona came his assistant, and who must have been there for a couple of years before that.
Yeah, big job. Ex-KOSB army man, like, you know, he was a fantastic fitness fanatic, like, unbelievable. And the first thing he took us to was the Gullen Sands, the famous Gullen Sands, like, you know, and Murder Hill. And you'd be training and you'd be running, and he wouldn't let you stop to be sick. If you're going to be sick, keep running, you know. It was incredible. And the Murder Hill, this Murder Hill he had, like, you know, it was crucifying, it really was. And after an hour's training, run up and down the sands and up and down this hill, you say, right, last run, get yourself into pairs. Get one get on the other one's back, he says, and then get up the hill. He was cruel. He really was cruel. But
I bet you wish though you were the one at the top.
And he was the type of, after a game, you know, if somebody say to you, he'd hammer you, you know, really hammer you, and destroy you, and then 5 minutes later saying, "You fancy a game of golf tomorrow?" It was all forgotten about, you know. He gave you, he thumped you, hammered you. And then that was it forgone, like, you know. Never held, you know, I loved the man, you know, I loved him. He's good.
Four absolute legends you're talking about. So, if I go back to the kind of early days of your career, Willie, Davy Provan and Eric Caldo were both there at the time, two international left backs. So, were you ever tempted, because it took a while for you to break into the team, were you ever tempted to say, I need to go somewhere else to play?
The only time I did that was, I was willing to break my time. Like, you know, I'd been in and out the odd game if they were injured. But when they got to the cup final against Bayern Munich, the European final, they kept 20 players on to train prior to the game. And they took 18, and they left me and Wilson Wood behind, you know. And I thought, I'm not having this, like, you know. So the next start the next season, doing the pre-season and that, and I'd trained all close season. Every day I went out training, running the roads, like, you know, and I was fit as a fiddle. I remember. Now when you go back to training, you've got to build yourself up a wee bit, you know, at the start. But I was fit as a fiddle, and we're running around the track, and I was 30-40 yards in front of all the other players, like, you know. And then I decided to go up and see Scott Simon. I says, I want a transfer, and I'd written it all out, handed to him, and he took it and he looked at it and he tore it up. He says, "Get the hell out of here," he says. "You're going nowhere." And That was it. That was the one time,
Well,
and I forgot it after that.
I'm so glad he tore it up. Something I was going to ask you about. Younger fans these days don't remember the old Ibrox, the old Hampden, because it's all seated and all that kind of stuff. You personally played in 4 Rangers Celtic Scottish Cup final games, right?
Yeah.
And each one of them had a crowd of more than 100,000, and 3 of them was more than 120,000.
Yeah.
What was it like to play in front of a crowd that size?
It was just you got cheered. No matter what you did, you got cheered. If you made an ass, if you made a mess of it,
don't worry about that.
The Celtic supporters were cheering you. If you did something good, the Rangers supporters were cheering you. But there weren't good games to play in.
No.
There's too much tension in these games, it really was. But I remember them well.
Yeah, unfortunately, for quite a number of years, they had the kind of upper hand over us. So, what was it like to play against Jockstein Celtic, and how difficult was it to be a Rangers player while they were winning so many trophies?
It was an unusual thing, we weren't playing bad illegally in the leagues.
Yeah,
we were playing well in Europe.
Yeah,
we could never beat. I mean, they were a good team, a good manager, but we could never beat them. It was frustrating, and frustrating for the supporters as well. It really was.
I'm actually writing a book about the period of the late 60s just now, and actually in league games, Rangers had a great record against Celtic in the late 60s. It was cup ties. We couldn't beat them in cup ties.
Yeah,
we were beating them in league games, but then dropping points in other games that they didn't.
I think trying to go to Barcelona, they beat us 3 times before we played the first round of European against Rangers. We just couldn't beat them. They were a good team. There was no doubt about it.
Anyway, this podcast isn't about them, so we'll not talk about them for too long. So, before I go into Barcelona, the year before that, the season before that, Barcelona is the greatest time in Rangers history, but the year before was the worst day in Rangers history, and you happened to play in the day of the Ibrox disaster.
Yeah.
What kind of memories do you have of that day and those weeks that followed it?
The game itself was a tight game. They scored with a minute to go, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then we went out of the park and equalised.
Yeah.
And we come off the park, and as we got back, we got into the bath, we're bathing away, and the dressing rooms at Ibrox has got skylight windows. You can't see out at all, You see the skylight windows, and we could see the blue lights flashing, and it was just non-stop blue lights,
Yeah.
And we thought there must be something going on, So we're out the bath, we're getting dressed, and into the dressing room, Molly Waddle and Joe Wallace come running. You get the hell out of here, he says. There's been a problem. Just get out of here, get to your cars and get away. So we get dressed, and as we were going out, they're bringing in the stretchers, And I got in the car, because there was no phones in these days, no mobiles. We just had the radio. So I guess I switched the radio on, and it says there's been a problem at Ibrox. There's apparently some deaths, And by the time I left Glasgow and got to Kirkcaldy, they'd announced there had been about 55 deaths, at that point. It was a sad time, It's a sad time. But Willie Waddle did a good job at that. He took it upon himself and he organised everything. For the funerals, we were broken into teams of 4 or 5 players plus a director. And there was myself, Andy Penman, Wally Johnson, I think Derek Johnson, which was another one. John Lawrence was our director.
Right.
And we attended as many funerals as we were sent to cover everything.
Yep.
You don't make sure they were all covered. And we got the Mark Inch lads, which was a sad, bunch of teenagers, and never went home, sad time.
Yeah, but I was just a wee boy then, but my dad was at the game, And see, when you talk, there was no phones and stuff like that.
Aye.
He didn't know anything about it. We thought he was behind the goal, but he actually swapped tickets that day, and he was in the stand, and he had left before he knew it, and he was in the pub for hours after the game, not knowing anything about it. And my mum's phoning around all over the place trying to find him because we were in panic stations.
Yeah.
Wow, terrible night. But then that was in 1971, and then the following season came the greatest European run we've ever had. So, but let me start by saying that season we finished fourth in the league that year. You were talking about domestically against Europe.
We were absolutely garbage in the league.
So why do you think we were so good in Europe when we couldn't beat Dundee and Dunfermline and teams like that?
I think we were well prepared, and we were. When you look, when you played in Europe, a 1-1 draw away from home is a win for you. You know, it's a bonus. Yeah. If you're playing in the league, a 1-1 draw away from home is a disaster for Rangers. And that was a big difference in it, you know. We were getting, away from home, we were getting good results in Europe. And then winning back home again, you know.
We certainly scored every. We scored in all our away games, didn't we? Which
I think I scored 1-1. I think it was 1-1 in every away game apart from the Sporting Lisbon game.
Yeah.
Which the extra time ended up 1-1.
Well, it was 4-3. So I was actually going to talk about the Lisbon game because young folk that maybe were only born or haven't read about it would find it incredible that Rangers get beaten penalties that night but went through. What do you remember about that? Craziness.
The first game. I mean, Sporting Lisbon were the favourites to win that tournament that particular year. They were hot favourites to win that game, to win that cup, and they were a good team. And we played them at Ibrox, but it was a home. We always wanted an away game, first game, but we got a home game that year. The first game was a home game, and we thought this is going to be hard, but we were 3-0 up. In coasting, and then we lost 2 stupid goals. One, I think we lost a goal in the 88th minute or something to make it 3-2. We went across there, and it was to get there was epic. We left on the Monday morning. We flew to London by the Schedule Airlines, British Airways. Halfway down, we got told that there's a strike in London. There's no flights on to Portugal. So we got off the flight in London, and Dido, and we had a lad who travelled with us. He was the travel operator, organised the games, the flights, and they went away, and we had to unload our own baggage off the plane onto the runway, onto the standing concrete, and Dido and this lad went away, and they come back about an hour later, said, we've got a flight arranged for tomorrow morning, so we're staying overnight, so we'll get some coaches, and we went to Stansted, and we stayed the night in Stansted in the hotel. We get back on the plane the next day, and it was foggy. the flight was delayed, so eventually they announced the flight, and we get on it, and I always remember it was a purple aeroplane, pure purple it was, and it had 2 turbo jets on it, like, you know. It normally took about 2 hours to get from London to Lisbon. This thing took 4 hours, you know. I think we arrived. You had to be in the city you were playing at least a day before the game, 24 hours. I think we arrived, we had about 4 hours to spare, and we got virtually no training done, like, you know. We arrived at night, no training. No, it was an epic, that one. And the game itself was incredible. The drums were playing the whole time. You hear the drums at Ibrox now. These were going at that time, you know. It was what an atmosphere it was, like, you know. And then midway through the first half, I think it was, Big Ronnie went into a tackle. And he just sat there and he's waiting for the trainers to come on, you know. He'd broken his leg, like, you know, on the tackle.
That was the last time I ever played for Rangers, wasn't it?
Aye. And I mean, what a crack it was. You heard the echoing right through the ground, like, you know. It was frightening, it really was. And then they brought in Davy. Davy Smith was the substitute.
Yeah.
He was just coming back from a broken leg.
Yeah.
You know, but that ended up 3-2 them. So it was 5-5 aggregate.
Yeah.
Extra time. And we scored first in extra time. And then I think they got a penalty. I think they did. Yep. The minutes to go, like, you know, to equalise. And the referee says, right, penalties. And nobody knew that we shouldn't have been taking penalties at that point. Nobody knew, you know.
Yeah.
So we missed 4. Davis missed 2 and missed both of them. We're out. And we get back to the dressing room and Diddle's commiserating with us slightly. No, Harline's like, well done, but... And nobody knew about the rule that the away goals counted double at that point. The away goals counted extra time, yeah. People saying, come out saying, I told them so, I told them. Nobody knew. I didn't know, you know, and I was there.
Yeah.
And, excuse me, the John Fairgrave.
Yeah, journalist, yeah.
The journalist, I think it was the Daily Mail or something. John came in and he's reading this wee book. He says, Willie, he says, you shouldn't have gone to penalties. You've won the game. And Dido, at that point, didn't believe him. Like, no, it's shown him. So the pair of them went away. And they come back and they got one of the Euro officials was at the game. And he couldn't make a decision because the offices were closed in Switzerland. He says, you'll have to wait till the morning. So, I mean, we went back and we thought, well, we're through. Are we through or are we not through? Will they give us it? You know, or well, we just didn't know. And then the next morning we got word that we're through, like, you know. So
I remember when I was still at primary school then, and by the time the game finished the night before on the radio, I had been sent to my bed, so I didn't actually know how it finished. And my dad told me in the morning we'd been knocked out. So I thought, I didn't know until I came back home from school the next day the Rangers were actually still in
it. Yeah.
Crazy stuff. So
no, that was an epic tie.
Yeah, it's one of the ones that it's hard to believe now that they could make such a mess of the rules like that. But probably the most famous game before the final though would have been Bayern Munich in the semi-final.
Yeah, but that, to me, that was the game of that was the away game was the best we ever played, I think. We got across there and lined up against them, and for the first 20 minutes, they hammered us. But I was given the job of picking up Sobel. And I think John picked up Roth, I'm not sure. And it was, and throughout the competition, we were always hard pressed. We always picked out the playmakers and went for them, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I picked up Sobel. We thought we was going to play in the right wing, but he actually played sort of left midfield for them, you know. So I was straight away. I was Dino saying, "Just follow him, you know." So I was all over the park.
No left back, that night.
There was no left back. I was shooting at the goals and everything. Like Meyer pulled off a fantastic save. I hit a ball and he was going to the top corner and he saved it. Like, you know, fantastic game it was. Like, you know, thoroughly enjoyed it. But they hammered us.
Yeah,
from the start.
I still think the Ajax team that Cruyff played in and the Bayern Munich team that Beckenbauer played in were by far the two best club teams of the 1970s, by far.
Yeah.
You obviously played against both of them, but that Bayern Munich team, half of them won the World Cup a couple of years later. They were superstars.
There was, I think there were 6 or 7 of the Bayern Munich team in the German World Cup team that won the World Cup, like, you know.
Yeah.
No, fantastic player. But,
so the second leg at Ibrox, which I was at as a wee boy, and I must admit, I didn't see much yet. The crowd was too big and I was too short, so I didn't actually see that much of it. But what an atmosphere was in Ibrox that night.
It was a great night for Glasgow, and in general, because Celtic were playing at Parkhead that night, and they had 60,000 to 70,000 fans. We had 80,000 fans. You know, a great night for Glasgow. It was.
It was perfect because we won and they lost.
The game itself, and you've got to admire Dido, because John had got injured prior to it, and he couldn't play, and they brought in Derek Parlin.
Yeah.
And with Derek Parlin and Derek John, two teenagers.
Yeah.
In the midfield against, you know.
It's a team going to win a World Cup. I know.
Yeah.
It
was a great night. And at one point during, we were taking a corner, I think it was, and Sepp Maier was arguing with Beckenbauer. And Beckenbauer just turned and started walking out the box as we were taking the corner. It was incredible, like, you know. They just lost it completely, like, you know.
I still think that Bayern Munich team's the best team any Scottish club was actually knocked out of Europe.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
That was the highlight game for me. Like, it was the Bayern Munich games. So,
but then it came to the final, Barcelona. So what do you remember about the build up to it before it all started?
We had 2 games left to play. No, we didn't. We finished the game. We had 3 weeks to fill in before the final, the end of the season. And we played Inverness. It was in Inverness. There was 3 lads in Inverness. We were getting a testimonial. We played testimonial for him up in Inverness. But there are games that you didn't really want to play in, because if you get injured, you're out, like, you know.
Yeah.
So you weren't going full bloody tackles or anything, you know. And then we played St Mirren, and they changed the team again. So he gave everybody a chance to play that was going to Barcelona, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I always remember that Dido got a strip made for Barcelona, because it was going to be very warm, like, you know, and then we wanted the short sleeves, and he got a shirt, and they came along with it, and they refused it because it wasn't the right colour of blue. And so we played in Barcelona, you'll notice, with long sleeve shirts on.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. I didn't realise that.
They played with long sleeve shirts. We played with long sleeve shirts on. They had short sleeves.
Right.
But that one, like, no.
It's actually quite strange, because it's a game you hardly ever see in colour. So I couldn't have told you if they played in the wrong shade of blue. Probably you'd never know, because it was always in black and white anyway.
Well, we played in these long sleeve shirts. We got a special one made with Barcelona and that. But at half time, you took them all off us. We had to take them off.
Right.
They kept them. They gave us another ordinary strips to put on. Right. He said, because if you swap jerseys at the end, you're not giving away these ones, like, you know. So I swapped my jersey at the end with the wee right winger. But I've still got the strips here, like. But their strip was pure quality. Yeah. And the blue V-neck and the dye run down the shirts. It's still on it today, like, you know, the blue dye running down. Yeah. It was something else.
So what do you remember about the actual final itself, the game? Because obviously 3-0 up and coasting, and then the last half hour was almost panic stations, I felt.
Yeah, no, I feel over the whole competition, that was your easiest game.
Right.
It really was. They had a problem prior to the game. Well, we had a problem prior to the game that was John going to be fit. John Gregg.
Yeah.
And he played, and I don't think he should have played. because
He
of
was
the
never not going to play though.
but he was never not going to play, and it's
Yeah.
good, because he was a great leader, fantastic leader. But they had a problem as well with they had a West kid playing for them who was injured, a forward.
Right.
So he can play, but they brought in a defender. So they were going defensive against us right away,
Right.
And we, and it was the first half was so easy, it was so easy. I didn't feel any danger to them, Never felt at any point they were going to beat us. Even when it went to, it was 3-1, and I think he scored with 2 minutes to go or something,
Yeah.
The first goal was between me, Derek Johnson, and Sandy. And made an arse of it, and we lost that. And then the second goal, Greggy was trying to kick Sabo. The pair of them were throwing handbags at one another, and we lost the goal there, But at no point did I think we were going to lose the game, But the what killed it most was the crowd coming onto the park, because as soon as they come on, you had to start all over again and get the tension up to play again,
Yeah.
But it was badly organised, the game, from the crowd point of view,
Yeah. I was actually going to ask about that. Obviously, if there's such a thing as a downside to it, it was the fact that you couldn't get presented with the trophy on the pitch. You had to get presented down inside the stadium because the fans were all on the park.
Yeah.
Did that spoil it in any way? Or is it?
Yeah, I think it did spoil it in a way that when the final whistle did go, I was at the first away point from the dugout, from the tunnel, and there were just masses of Rangers. There was no danger. They were just happy. But Franco's henchmen were trying to wield the buttons against them and everything, it was disgraceful the way it was organised. I'm trying to get off the pitch, and these two guys got me by the arms and they helped me through,
Right.
And I said to one, I said, where are you from? He says, Glasgow. He says, but we stay in Australia. He says, yes, and me and my pal here. He says, we're both come for us. We flew in last night for the game. He said, but we're flying back out tomorrow morning. Yeah, you're what?
Everywhere, anywhere, eh?
I says, you're not going to Glasgow to see her? No, he says, we can't afford it. We're going back to Australia. So, I mean, the lengths that the supporters went to get there was incredible. Incredible.
And obviously, because you couldn't show the trophy, you done it the next night at Ibrox, in the pouring rain.
Yeah. We got into the dressing room, and I always remember John Lawrence, who was the chairman. Yeah. John come in, and he was sitting there crying his eyes out. So, he's a super old man, but the pride that he must have got out of it, it's incredible. And John and Dido, they had to go along to one of the rooms underground, and they were handed the trophy and told to get the hell out of here, It was sad. I mean, it wasn't the players' fault.
No.
But the players suffered because of that, because there was no presentation, which would have been nice. And the next day at the airport, I think they were just throwing people on planes just to get rid of this, just get out of here, It was the UEFA and the Spanish FA had a lot to answer for the way it was organised.
You're right. But you managed to show the trophy off at Ibrox the next night, though, didn't you?
Yes, we got back to Ibrox, and as you say, it was pouring rain. It really was, and we got in the back of this old coal lorry. It was a coal lorry, open back coal lorry. You wouldn't be allowed to do it nowadays, I don't think, for health and safety. And we drove us round the park, and there were thousands in the ground. But the Broomloan Road end, there was fewer people there. But I spotted one chap standing there with a Rangers scarf on. It was Bobby Shearer.
Right.
I mean, he could have been in the stands.
I was going to think, you think he'd get into the director's box or something, haven't you?
Yeah, he could have been in the stands and the director's box. It was there. He's got the scarf going,
Fantastic. So, I'll get before we finish. I'll go back a little bit about Barcelona, but I just want to talk about one specific other game that you've got a Scottish Cup winners medal, and it's kind of means a lot to me, your Scottish Cup winners medal, because it was the very first cup final I was at, and it was the very first Rangers Celtic game I was at, which was the game they beat Celtic 3-2.
Yeah.
And Tom Forsyth scored the winner. But what do you remember about that day?
Very little, to be honest. The main thing is Tom Forsyth goal.
Yeah,
that was it. And I think it was that game. We're coming back from Ibrox, and we got on the bus, and you couldn't. By the time we got back, you couldn't see the bus window for spitting and.
no, right.
It was unbelievable. It was.
Take a wrong turn or something.
I don't know what we did, but it was incredible. But I don't. To be honest, I don't remember much about the game,
Maybe it's. I'm being a little bit selfish because it was a really important game to me because it was the first time I'd seen Rangers win something. Derek Parlin was my absolute hero that day because he scored the first goal and it was his birthday. Right. I always remember it was his birthday.
It was the Barcelona game. Was the last game that 11 players played together.
Was it?
The team that won in Barcelona never ever played again together.
Of course, Colin Stein and Willie Johnson were away quite.
They went away.
Soon after it, weren't they?
Colin Jackson, who failed the fitness test the night before the game.
Yeah.
He was back in the team again, so yeah.
I didn't realise they'd never played again. I knew it wouldn't be very often because of Stein and Johnson both leaving in the following season. So speaking of the Barcelona Bears, then it's obviously getting towards 55 years ago.
54 years ago, this 52 this month. Next one.
And obviously, all the players are getting in their 70s and 80s and stuff now. But do you keep in touch? Do you still have?
Yeah, we have a WhatsApp group. In fact, I was on to Doddy twice yesterday.
Right.
So there's a few of us in it. Some don't want to get involved in it, but most of us are on it. Yeah. So we keep in touch.
It's great because obviously you're 11 unique players in the history of our club, and the very fact it's unique meant that the club put all 11 of you in the Hall of Fame. So that must be something you're particularly proud of.
I would say so. Next to Barcelona, I would say that comes next. Okay, I have a Scottish Cup League, but the Hall of Fame one, yeah. I mean, every time you go in there and you look at that board,
there's your name on it.
Yeah, got your name on it.
Fantastic.
Nobody will take that away.
No. So, as I said, you played right up until 74-75 season. I think you got an injury, didn't you?
I got injured at the start of 74. I got injured, and they brought John Gregg into left back. John left back, and I was never back into the team again. Come the February, I came back for the train. I would come back for the training, and wee Bobby Moffat. Joe Wallace was the manager at that point, and Dido was the general manager. I get back to training, and wee Bobby says, Dido wants to speak to you. I said, all right. So I goes up the stair and press the bell, and normally you would say wait or the green light or a red light. The green light come on, you went straight in. Red light come on, you waited. And normally, if you went up and pressed it, the red light would come on. It'd keep you waiting, but the green light come on. So,
right.
And he says, "We've had an offer from Partick Thistle for you." I says, "No, I want a free, Willie." He says, "You're not getting a free." I said, "Look, I've been here 15 years. You're not going to try to sell me." They've made an offer. Go and speak to them. I said, "I'm not speaking to them." And Scott Simon was the manager of Partick at that time.
Right.
And I says, "I'm not going to speak to them." "Get out here," he says. "Get out." So again, I got thrown out. And about a month later, excuse me, I come back to training and me, Bobby, he don't want to speak to you. No. He says, the Motherwell's put an offer in for you. I says, how much are you giving me to go? I'm not giving you anything. Go and speak to Motherwell. I said, I'm not speaking to Motherwell. Speak to you. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you're going to give. I'm giving you nothing. I said, well, I'm not speaking to Motherwell. Get out of here, he says. You're not getting a free. I wanted a free. And about a week later, again, I get so, Dido wants to see you. But what they had done was, we're coming, I got ready for the training. We're going across the training. I was only with 10 minutes of the training. And Joe Wallace says, you have to go back and speak to Dido. I says, why? So I goes back. He says, right, you're a free. He says, get down, get washed and get out of here before the rest of them come back for the training. He says, I don't want you talking to them. And that was my exit from Rangers.
That's the way a Barcelona Bear left the club.
That was sad. But I mean, I've nothing against the Rangers. I love, they'll never take that away. It was just the way the things they were these days. That's how it happened.
Yeah. So obviously you've obviously still got a great love of the club.
Oh yeah.
Do you watch the current team at all? And if you do, what do you think their chances are of winning the league?
The chances are, it's in their own hands now, isn't it?
Yep.
From where we were at the start of the season, it's an unbelievable. I like the manager. I think he's a good manager. I think he's done well, and he's done well with the people he's got. I think they need players. They need another 2-3 players. But I think he's done well, and as I say, it's in their hands. The chances there from where we were. Plus, if you look at it, we've got the best goal difference in the league. And again, considering where we were at the start of the season, that's incredible. I just hope they do it. I really do.
Well,
I think they'll do it. Roll. I like Roll. I think he's good. Be good for. I can see him getting moved on. There'll be teams after him, I think.
Yeah. So, well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I could sit here and talk to you all day, but I know that I'm not allowed to do things like that. Just for the folk watching, there's just one little thing that I just want to say at the end of it, which is that when Rangers won the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1972, there was only 5 players played in all 9 games. The 8 games leading up to the final and the final itself. Peter McCloy, Sandy Jardine, Colin Steen, Alan McDonald, and Willie Mathieson. Yeah. So I think you've got a unique place in Rangers history. Speaking on behalf of the Rangers support, if I possibly can, I just want to wish you every health and happiness in the years ahead. Thanks very much for all the memories you've gave us, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Before we go, can I just say something else?
Sure.
It's just as we're about to leave the dressing room for Barcelona. Yeah. Willie Waddle says, look, he says, there's 25,000 people out there. He says, in the villages, in the towns, in the cities, they're watching their television, they're listening to the radio. In Britain, in Europe, in Asia, all over the world, he says, millions. It says, don't do it for yourself, do it for them. If you do it for them, you'll never be forgotten. And it's true. I'll never be forgotten.
You know what? That is the absolute perfect ending for this podcast. And the man was right, by the way. And
I think they should read, or somebody should tell them that story about Willie Waddle's speech to the existing team.
Do you know what? I think that's exactly what should get read out in the dressing room before the 5 games in the run-in for the league, because that's exactly. I couldn't put it any better myself.
Not about you. It's about the people.
Yeah, and we are the people. Okay, Willie, thanks again. This has been one of my favourite ever podcasts, I must admit. Thank you. It's been a pleasure for me. It'll be a pleasure for all those watching. all the best for the future, and thanks very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.